Welcome to the latest edition of the New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary, direct from our assignment desk. Compost Heap. Let's see what stories we're working on at this hour. Nursing homes across the state are wondering who's going to bring those trays of food and mop up at nursing homes now because of the latest cruel and purposeless decision of the Trump administration in this immigration crackdown. They have now eliminated temporary protected status for Haitians. That means 4,000 to 5,000 Haitians in Connecticut now have to scramble, their lives upending, and that has ripple effects on industries like the nursing homes, which it turns out really depend on Haitian immigrants to keep the place running and take care of our seniors. This week, the Haitians, I wonder who's next. Well, students will be coming back with their backpacks soon to school at Morris Sheridan, and they're going to be pleased to find out that their beloved assistant principal, Carrie Corsi, will still be there. Corsi's been there for 24 years. She's been to public schools 35 years. And she was going to be transferred for her very last year before retirement to a different school. Families and staffers at the school said, we really want to keep her there. Politicians took it up and the school board found a way to keep her there. You know what time I think it is? It's time to finally rebuild the old clock factory on Hamilton Street. That was from middle last century. We were still building stuff for the rest of the country to buy at that clock factory. It shut down, the place started falling apart. In 2018, a company from Oregon said they're going to rebuild it and the city worked with them, but it never happened and all these court proceedings tied it up. Now, finally this week, the housing authority has closed on it. They bought the property and they're going to rebuild it into 130 apartments. The housing authority and their nonprofit arm, Glendower, have a really good track record on building and rebuilding affordable housing, so I think this one is finally going to arrive right on time. Well, speaking of badges, Luis Rivera, New Haven cop, got his police badge back. He was one of the police officers fired after that horrible Randy Cox incident where a person was arrested and left in the back of a van without a seatbelt, and he got paralyzed and then was abused in the lockup. And we fired a whole bunch of officers. This week, a state arbitration panel, including the management representative, so it's unanimous, decided that the city should not have fired Rivera, that he wasn't one of the culpable people. So he now goes back to training. He will be back as the second officer from that incident we fired, who is getting the job back. Meanwhile, we paid out $45 million to settle that case. We're in the midst of debates among Democratic candidates in two competitive races for state rep, West Side and East Side. And those debates show us the differences among the candidates, but they also show us in interesting ways what everyone seems to agree on in terms of what they think the public wants. A lot of it has to do with checkbooks. Seems like everyone agrees, Democrats running for us, that the state should write bigger checks in municipal aid and for education aid, including teachers' pay and benefits. They also seem to think that Yale needs to open up the checkbook and pay a lot more. And they also seem that the state wants to oppose Trump and all of his contempt for the law and civil rights. They also seem to agree that they're not going to speak out, with a few exceptions, when one of their own, a mayor, let's say in New Haven, Democrat, also shows contempt for the law, also shows contempt for civil rights. That's too close to home. Another area of agreement on the West Side debate for the 92nd District Democratic candidates last week was that everyone seems to agree that it was a good idea to legalize recreational use of cannabis and that there are problems with it. Something interesting, State Rep Pat Dillon, one of the candidates, she's running for re-election 92nd District, brought up, which she talked about nips and alcohol and cigarettes in general. She's concerned that the way we've legalized marijuana is similar to the way we dealt with legal sales of alcohol and cigarettes, which is that they're seen as money machines, revenue generators, and that we ignore the public health aspects of what legalization means. Interesting point. Well, here's a Yale Bula Cup. Speaking of Yale, a Republican candidate this cycle, Ryan Fazio, is running for governor as a Republican. He came to town, and he didn't come to praise Yale. He says we should tax Yale, that the people in New Haven should not have almost twice as high property taxes, so that a $44 billion corporation, Yale, doesn't pay property taxes. I think a lot of people can drink to that. Well, I don't want to trigger you remembering snow shoveling when it's so warm out, but Michael Siciliano was remembering snow shoveling. He was our public works director in New Haven, and he resigned this week to take a job in Woodbridge because of all the flack Public Works took for shoveling and plowing in this last winter's storms. And they did kind of mess up one storm. He said, quote, I felt like the fall guy for it. That was a little turnoff for me. I don't know if I want to deal with that much more. So he's going to take the quieter job in Woodbridge. And of course, we should never be mean or yell at public works people work so hard to keep our streets clean. And yes, sometimes they need to be accountable if the job isn't done well. And if you want that public works job, you need to be able to take some of the heat. What I wonder is if he thinks the good people of Woodbridge, we have big hills and lots of area that has a lot of snow, if they're going to be any kinder to deal with. In any case, till next time, this New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary. Let's always pick up and recycle our trash while we still can.